Welcome back then all to another episode of my Let's Learn series. Last time I basically went through Daikara and we basically reached this Temporal Rift, which is actually the entrance to a dungeon that inside Daikara, much like how the Old Forest had its Lake of Nerd dungeon inside of it. Now, before I jump into the Temporal Rift here, the rift that leads somewhere, I'm going to actually do this, and I should have said this as well for the Shelter of Fortress when I was going down to the Lake of Nerd and all that. First of all, warning: I'm about to enter a dungeon that is very, very dangerous. Much like the Lake of Nerd, this is probably one of those dungeons you may want to skip until later, or just skip entirely. The Temporal Rift leads to a temporal portal, and there's no telling where you'll end up or if you'll be able to make it back. If you enter this place, you're basically stuck in here until you either beat it or you get killed. And I mean, quite literally, you get killed off. If you die in here, you basically respawn inside a Temporal Rift. You don't spawn outside of it. And you basically just keep on going. Now, the first part here, this is actually really bad entrance into it, but there's a bunch of these elementals. They're temporal elementals. And they're kind of really threatening, because they're inside a temporal rift here, like this first instance you jump into. You're in a zero gravity environment, and there's no gravity here, and you float in the air. And what this does is it makes it so that your movement three times as slow, and any melee or archery blows you have a chance to gain knockback basically as a result. So what's happening in here is we're gonna get knocked around a whole lot if stuff melees us, and we basically advance very slowly on these guys at the same time. So this is a very dangerous area. I actually want to do this first, and then we're just going to try this volcano here. Now, these guys, they fire off like turn back the clock. This is a very powerful spell that they can fire off. They have a couple talents available to them. They have turn back the clock and space-time tuning, the basic ones here. Turn back the clock, what it does is it reduces the target's stats by 6 for 3 turns, along with dealing temporal damage. Now, temporal damage by itself is very dangerous itself. If I go into my character here, I have some temporal resistance, but temporal is actually one of those few elements that you don't usually come across, and when you do get hit by it, it's it's going to hurt because you're not usually building resistance for it. Now, what we're going to do with these guys, we're going to just rush this guy here. So we basically have all these telegraphs over in this sort of first instance here. There's actually a greater one over here. He's a little bit different. If I look at him, he has access to echoes from the past, which basically lets him create temporal echo in over around you. So he basically does a temporal nova. Many like the frost nova or other type of talents that you've seen in so many other games. This guy does a temporal form of that, which hurts quite a bit. Okay, we're actually going to wait for these guys to sort of come to me, I guess. This is very dangerous, but we're basically going to move this way. Note that these guys, they move a lot faster than you, so they don't, I don't think, suffer too much from zero gravity effects. And as such, you have to be very careful of them. Okay, kill this guy. And you'll notice that kill will jump over here. That's because I knocked him back. If I let these guys get really close, basically they get knocked back when you hit him with melee attacks. So he went flying! And he's firing a turn back the clock at me right there, so that'll be fun to deal with. Kill this guy. And I actually got hit by turn back the clock there, and there's just the magical effect. It basically reduces your stats and does damage, of course. Alright, so there's this guy down here. Now, the best way to sort of deal with these guys in here, what you want to do is you just basically want to hide around corners and let them come to you. If you hide behind corners, it makes them, have to approach you. And as you see there, if I walk up to these guys, they'll get multiple hits on you if you try and engage battle with them. So it's advisable that if you're going after these guys, just wait around corners or do what you can. Now, what's really threatening in this here is the rares. Because this is a very difficult place because of the zero gravity thing, rares, gain a whole level of importance. And this guy, he is a natural body, willful strike feat. This guy looks like a doomed, which is bad. I'm basically going to fight Doomed inside a Temporal Rift. This is not going to be fun in any shape or form, so I'm not going to like this too much. There's the shadows. We're actually going to do this right here, and we'll activate this right here. So I'm basically letting, you know, he's got his shadows. We're just going to try and hit this guy a little bit before he basically jumps in range, and he actually jumped there, which is fine, I guess. And then we'll just do this. We'll do this. I'm actually going to hit him with Flurry. And that'll luckily kill his shadow, because the shadows can't exist without him, so we got a little bit lucky there because the shadow was, you know, out of distance there and not really close enough to be a threat. Now, I don't know why, but some of these elementals, they come in brown instead of purple. Well, I guess they're like different types, but these guys, I guess, fire Dust to Dust and Temporal Wake. They're basically a whole lot of temporal stuff to worry about. And of course, there's also the ultimate for some of these elementals. Here's the ultimate guy. This guy basically has a nominal Temporal Storm. He has Dust to Dust, Quantum Spike, Swap. Swap's very annoying. It basically lets him manipulate space-time continuum to swap places with something else. So we're actually going to let this guy... As you can see, they like to swap around a little bit. Alright, we're basically going to let these guys just sort of get close to us where possible. And there's the Nova basically did there on top of me. And let's actually do this right here. I'll activate this right there. Note that they don't always get knocked back either, these guys, so sometimes you'll get sort of lucky in that sort of department. I think we're going to do the this basic attack on him. Eventually this guy's going to go up, and I'll kill him. Now, because there's a guy on the screen, you basically can't regen until he gets out, you know, it gets out of your way, so you have to kill him if you're going to try and regenerate. If you have guys on the screen that are preventing you from resting up, by the way, there is a way sort of around it. Just press 5 a whole lot. I don't advise hitting 5 a lot, but there is some times where it's sort of useful. We'll drop this here. As you can see, I took a little bit of damage there. Well, that was fun. I just basically got shot around there a whole lot. Well, he's dealt with. Now, once you get to the end of the Temporal Rift, there's this portal that leads somewhere. And that's basically how you get out of this initial first instance. It might be advisable just to jump to it if you can. But I feel confident I can kill everything, so we're just going to do that. It is worth knowing that you can get some very good experience from this dungeon. So, if you want experience, this is where you'll go for it. Alright, so a tall man glowing like a star appears out of nowhere. This is a Temporal Warden. And this is actually worth knowing, but if you actually complete this instance, you'll actually unlock the Temporal Warden class for use. So, he basically tells you a little bit about his, his work and time and all that. But he says, "You're more capable. Help me fight the abominations while I prepare a timeline. Is your only way out." And of course, he just sends you on your way to do the work for him. We don't really care about that helmet. All right, so this looks like Maj'Eyal's forest, but it looks strangely distorted. Beware. So this is the Temporal Rift Lumberjack Village, and if you remember the Lumberjack Village, it was basically this place of like all these little huts and stuff, but now it's inhabited by these Temporal Horror type enemies. So here's a Void Horror. It looks like a hole in space-time, but you get the impression it's somehow more than that. So this guy is initially kind of dangerous, but what you can do with him, just kill off his Void Shards really quick, rush him, and then just deal with him quickly. Now, after you defeat these guys, they do some sort of random effect. In this case, they spawn a whole bunch of human farmers. A water-worn human farmer looking at a loss as to what's going on. So they don't know what happened. They just, just popped in here for no reason. Now, much like in the Lumberjack that you fought in much long ago, there's the Ben Kupfer the Abomination. So well, it's Ben Kruver the Abomination. So you remember Ben Kruver, he was a cursed madman that's going around killing people. But this guy seems twisted and corrupted by temporal energy. So he's basically a temporal cursed guy now. So he's a little bit more dangerous. But not really that much more. So we're just going to do this. I'm going to shadow step him. And we appeared right next to him. We dazed him. And also silenced him, apparently. We'll try to do a stun on him, and we did. So that's done. We'll flurry him. Dual strike him. As you can see, he's not too tough. Much like before. Here's one of those dredges from before. And he actually did something on me. He did speed sap. So he slowed me down and made me waste away. You want to be very careful of these guys. They can actually hurt you quite a bit, the dredges, if you're not careful. And you'll see why they can hurt you. And I don't mean this because they're rare, but I mean they can hurt you sometimes. Alright, let's actually drop this here to make him come out. There he is. And I stunned him. He slowed me down, but we're just going to try and get rid of that. Get rid of slow. I'll note that you can't get rid of magical effects of a physical, wild infusion that removes physical effects. So I only got rid of slow there because that was a physical effect there. Speed sap's actually really unique in that it inflicts both a magical and a physical effect on you at the same time. It's worth knowing, I guess, in a way. Okay, kill this guy. He's done. Okay, so once you defeat all the guys in here, you basically just go to this Temporal Rift, much like before, and you just continue on to the next instance. Alright, so that's nothing I really care about, I don't think, so I'll note that has high defense, but I kind of like the ability to put corrode armor and disease on people. Resistance to acid is kind of nice too. So let's try to modify that. So, Temporal Rift. As you pass the rift, you see what seems to be Daikara Mountains, yet they are not. So, Temporal Rift Daikara. Now, this is actually one of the few instances where you're going to be able to see the original dragon and the alternate version of Daikara's dragon, Varsha. So we'll basically go and find a boss in here. This is actually the fourth instance of the original Daikara instance. Once I basically find it, I'll be able to make use of its boss to demonstrate what the original one is capable of. Now, we just ran across a Temporal Stalker. I feel it's really worth knowing that these guys right here, Temporal Stalkers, they're real jerks. They have stealth, kind of like, many other stealthy type of enemies, but unlike other stealthy type of enemies, they also have other powerful abilities like Shadow Strike is on them. They have the ability to do unseen actions, which basically lets them remain in stealth when they hit you. They have Spin Fate, they have sometimes an Infusion and Perfect Aim and Runes and Lightning. These guys are very, very capable of hurting you and killing you if they become rares, and in this case he actually just, disappeared on me, so he's there. And there he is again. You want to be very careful of these guys because they can hurt you quite a bit. Now he's got that stupid Elemental Surge Lightning on him, so he's actually kind of dodging me here a little bit. Alright, there we go. That's off. We'll just hit him with Dirty Fighting. And then we'll just try flurrying him. But be very careful of those Temporal Stalkers if you see them, especially if they become rares. They can be quite deadly once they become rares. Activate this. Now, there's a special type of temporal enemy that you'll probably see in this instance once you get to it, and it's why I say dredges are dangerous. It's because of this one specific type of enemy that accompanies them sometimes. Okay, just a few more of these guys. Okay, there's two dredgelings here. That's actually worth bearing witness to, that they might be a little bit dangerous just because they're spellcasters. Alright, so we just got frozen. We're just going to get rid of that and let's do this. Step here. So here's Rampa. Rampa is actually the original type of dragon that you would have fought if you played the original Daikara instance. She's basically a cold-based dragon, much like Varsha. It's not like Varsha. Varsha's a fire-based dragon, but Rampa is a cold-based dragon. She has cold-based talents, And this Temporal one also has the ability to temporal abilities on top of that. So she's actually quite a nuisance, so to speak. And she also likes to cast, you know, a really dangerous ability. Varsha has like this sort of AoE firestorm that lets her, you know, do a lot of damage if you get close to her. Ramp is a little bit different in that she has a very powerful, you know, cold-based type of talent, much like the boss in the old forest. She has the ability to freeze you up close if you let her. Now, I'll note, by the way, that if she steps into her own slow, she'll actually get slowed down. So it's kind of interesting that that sort of happened. Also note that because she's a boss, she pushed out this guy. The guy's fighting him, but she pushed him out of the way. Okay, we're just going to stun Ramtha here. I think we'll inflict the bleed status on her. Maybe we'll pop her with a dual strike. Now, note that she has the ability to use something called haste. Haste basically puts these after images in front in where you walk, and what it does is haste basically lets you move at 41% global speed, and you also get attack faster as well. So each time you move with this effect active, you'll leave behind an image of yourself for 2 turns that may draw enemy attention. So that's actually not her, but it's like an image of her. Now, what we're going to do right now, I think, we're just going to just drop this. I'll note that she's not resistant to fire at all. She's resistant to cold, and because she's a temporal abomination, she's resistant to temporal, but she's not resistant to fire, so fire is really great against her, I find. Okay, she's out of the way, and so is that guy. Now, one of the reasons this place is a good place for experience, each of these bosses, the Ben Krufta there, the Ramtha right here, and the bosses at the end of his instance, these are all high experience mobs that you'll basically be killing off. So, in many ways, this is a very short dungeon, but it's also a high-powered experience dungeon that you can pick up a lot of easy experience with if you, you know, get by it. And there's a level. I think we'll drop... it's worth really pushing this up as fast as possible, Guardian of the Woods. We're actually going to do that, I think. But I would note that it might be worth increasing Piercing Sight if you're playing like another race on like your Shadowblade if you're following up mine. Run with your own Shadowblade character. But because I'm on Flora, I'm basically going to invest in Guardian Wood just to try and get my all resistance up here a little bit. Also because it helps Blight resistance and disease immunity, but getting the all resistance really early is really helpful. And I don't really need to spend like Con to get like this one here, for example, to do it. Over here, we're just going to increase up our blur sight a little bit more. And I'm going to increase up dexterity, dropping our magic. I find it odd that we haven't found the monster I'm looking for that accompanies these dredges. Aha, here we are. The Dredge Captain. So this is an elite mob, and this guy can make the other dredges around him very dangerous. He has his ability called Frenzy, I guess. Basically what it does, Dredge Frenzy. Sends dredges into a radius of 6 into a frenzy for 5 turns. The frenzy will increase global speed by 24%, physical crit chance by 24%, and prevent death until 24% life. So basically, he makes all these guys around him more or less last much longer, and they become much more threatening. So we actually want to back off from these guys for a little bit. Let them lose their frenzy. I don't know why they all died there. Anyhow, another Temporal Stalker. We're just gonna... Hello? This guy has rapid shot on him, so he's actually an archer type of guy. Empty hand. Alright, well, this guy right here, he is an archer type. So this guy's, you know, he's dying, but what we're going to do, we're actually going to do this, and we're actually just going to Shadow Step and hit this guy. I want to get rid of this guy very quickly, just because he's potentially going to be dangerous. We'll do a sweep here. I'll kill both him and injure him. I'll do a flurry, and we'll just finish him off. But as you can see, he knocked off a bunch of stuff on me there. Archers can be quite dangerous if you let them get detrimental effects on you left and right. So kill him quickly if you get to him. That's a strength hat, so I'm actually going to keep this. Or no, I'm not. I need equipment. Maybe that'll work actually. We'll actually keep that just to test something. Alright, so this is the Temporal Rift, Lake of Nur. And this is like the first instance of the Lake of Nur, and it's where you fight the boss for the Temporal Rift. The boss is something called the Chronolith Clone and the Chronolith Twin. And they're basically two exact copies of each other, and they're quite dangerous. So, when fighting these guys, you want to be very careful what they can do. They have a few high damage capability talents that can really kick your ass. I want to Shadow Step this guy, and there's his twin. So, you know, we've got the clone and the twin. I'll note, by the way, when you injure one of these guys, they share the damage between each other. So, hitting one hits the other, and vice versa. So, blah, blah, blah. It doesn't really say here that I injured the other guy, but I basically hit both of them when I hit them there. And that's really what I want to do here. You just want to basically hit them. And that guy just basically knocked me back there with Repulsion Blast. And this guy's stunned. They have lots and lots of talents too that I have to be aware of as well. I'm not going to hit him much. These guys don't like to stay close to you either, which is kind of bad, but whatever. Now, you want to be very careful if you get this put on you. This is Temporal Destabilization. This basically hits you for a lot of temporal damage each turn for a lot of turns. So I'm going to end up taking 238 damage over 11 turns. Or I'll actually take more than that. I'll take like 250 damage over like 11 turns. I also got pinned by one of these guys, which kind of sucks. But watch out for this talent. It can hurt you quite a bit. We're actually going to drop this right here. And I think what we want to do here, we're going to hit him with a dual strike to keep the stun on him. I'll note, by the way, that if something's stunned and you hit with another stun, usually you extend a stun. You don't really check their stun chance for it, you just stun them outright, so it's kind of cool to do that. I'm going to hit this guy with Sweep, so he starts bleeding out a little bit. I don't think I made him bleed, sadly. Let's try Flurrying him. So, as you can see, they're both taking lots of damage, and this is basically how you beat these guys. You basically just stay on them with a bunch of like hits, and you'll take them down. Now, these guys do have a special ability called Banish. It basically sends you away, so to speak. And if you're on the Lake of Nur map and you get banished into the water, it can be kind of detrimental because you could be banished into the actual water. Now, something to note, I've actually been hit by continuum destabilization. The target has been affected by space or time manipulations is becoming more resistant to them. So, I get hit by more paradox type talents, which is the temporal talents, I basically get this like sort of resistance to them over time. Paradox is a very powerful talent set, but once you get hit by enough, it actually starts to weaken against targets. So you want to be very careful using it if you're using it yourself. And that guy hit me with the temporal destabilization again. I'm just going to stand here. So I've basically been hit by, you know, these guys quite a bit now. What I actually want to do, I'm basically just going to teleport myself over in, you know, to like one of these safer areas where I can find trees and stuff to hide behind until I start to heal up a little bit. I used up all my stamina, right? So the quicker I regenerate some of the stamina, the quicker I can get back to start fighting these guys a little bit. Plus, hiding behind trees will make them have to approach me a little bit. So he's approached me a little bit now. And he's still approaching me, or trying to, I think. Something I can do, by the way, I can actually do this. And now I'll basically, you know, injure him a little bit. Okay, hit me with that again. Let's heal up a little bit. Oh, they're both here. Cool. Well, at this point, they've actually gotten close enough that I can, like, sort of jump on them, I guess. So let's actually do this. We're going to go here. And hey, why not? I got banished yet again. See, I don't do this constantly sometimes in this fight. Just banish you all over the place. And I think what we're going to do right now, we're just going to, jump away from him. Let's just get over here. Heal up all my stamina, or a lot of it. Okay, so this guy's popped up. You notice that they're actually healing up a little bit, I think, or maybe this is guys who just have more HP. These guys don't actually have the same HP, by the way, the Chronal Quinn and Chronal Twin. One of them actually has a little bit more HP than the other guy. We're just going to jump on him, and we're just going to try and kill him with a flurry. Alright, so when you see that quest update thing up there, it basically means after passing through some kind of anomaly, you met a Temporal Warren who told you to destroy the abominations with his alternate timeline. What just happened is I actually just killed his buddy down here. So there's his items that he basically dropped. And boom. Alright, so once you kill both of them, a tall man comes back, glowing like a star, appears out of nowhere. And he basically looks surprised and all that. He basically says, take this, it'll help you, I'll send you back to this portal. Okay. So Room of the Rift ability. Okay, we're just going to heal up a little bit here. Grab our items. So this is actually a really great instance to sort of pick up a lot of experience. Just these bosses that are all over the place. You basically fight a total of 3 bosses. Ben Kruftar, I'm not sure if he's a boss, and a whole lot of other temporal type enemies. And can pick up a lot of experience for all your troubles. You also pick up the Room of the Rift here. This basically lets you inflict a whole lot of temporal damage on a target, and if it survives, it will be sent 4 turns into the future. And it will also lower your paradox if you have any. I usually don't really care much for this Room of Rift, but it is something you can use if you want to. I found a nice little dagger here. We're going to put that away. We're going to put on the moon and a silent blade. So we got ourselves a nice pair of daggers to make use of. I'll note, by the way, that moon here actually reduces your light rays by 1. But it's a very powerful dagger to find early on. So that sort of makes up for it. I'm also going to keep the Unerring Scalpel here. The Unerring Scalpel has this ability called Blind Fight. Or actually, I don't really need it, do I? Yeah, I don't really need this. But if I didn't have those withering orbs here, this would be a good way of getting around invisible enemies or ones that, or when you're blinded, like this enemies you can't see. If you have this ability, you can basically just go through enemies very easily with it. This also has the ability to penetrate through damage shields, but I don't think I really care about that on a dagger-based character because we do so much damage anyways, so we're just going to transmogrify this. It's a nice dagger, but it's sort of, outlived its usefulness versus all the other stuff I have. Alright, none of this interests me at all, I don't think. So we're just going to sell all this stuff. And we're just going to push on. So that was a Temporal Rift. Very quick instance. Not a whole lot to say about it. After you beat it, you basically get teleported to the entrance of Daikar Free, and then you just push on to where else you want to go. So at this point, I think we're probably strong enough that I can probably make use of all the lightning gear I've accumulated thus far. So when you're ready to do the Storming the City quest, the one where you have to battle that storm cloud that's going over Durf, one of the things you can do, I'll note that there's basically 2 ways to approach this quest for Storming the City. You're basically told that you can go to the Ziggurat group that will supposedly fight magic, and in this case, they're basically the anti-magic faction in this game. You could go to them if you want to become like an anti-magic type of character, and it's not a bad thing, but I can't really do it on an arcane character, so I can't really show you. What we're going to do, we're basically going to go to the secret town here of Angolan, and we're going to talk to their supreme archmage over here, Linale. So you basically, I require all the help I can get, not for my sake, but for a town of Durf to northeast of here. And one moment the phone's ringing. Alright, had to go answering our phone call there. Alright, so you basically go to Linale here and basically say, I require all the help I can get, not for my sake, but for a town of Durf to northeast of here. And she basically gives you this little blurb. Yes, we've noticed the devastation that happened there. I have sent some friends thence to disperse the cloud, but the true threat lies not there. He who created this abomination is Urkis. He is a Tempest, a powerful Archmage who channels the storms. Years ago he went rogue, severing himself from Anguin. At first he remained quiet, and thus we withheld action, but it seems we have no choice now. Cleansing the skies will take much time. In the meanwhile, if thou art willing, we can send thee to Urkis, lair to face thee. I will not lie to thee, we cannot send thee thence, but this could be a death trap, and we have no means for thou to depart his lair, as he lives atop a tall peak in Daikara Mountains. So, much like the Temporal Rift, this is another warning, stay away until you're really ready for it. Basically I'm ready, send me down, I'm not letting good people derf down. And you get teleported to Urkis' lair at Tempest Peak. So you step on unfamiliar ground, you're nearly on top of one of the highest peaks you can see. The storm is raging above your head. So we're basically at this little place. There's a dungeon for it. The next level is this place. What we're gonna do, before we go in there, we're just gonna make sure we're prepped up and ready to fight this guy, because Urkis is nothing to laugh at. I'm gonna put on these gauntlets that I picked up long ago, the Iron Gauntlets of Dispersion, and we'll put those on. Those will give me the ability to remove arcane effects on myself, and that hurricane effect that you saw from the ultimate lightning elemental there was basically the effect that he can do on you, and it's nothing to it's something to be very wary of. I'm also going to put this belt on, and we're going to put this boots on. We're going to keep these this helmet on for now. Why did I keep this? Oh yeah, I kept it for a strength ability. We'll get to that a little bit later, but I'm basically thinking I might be able to make use of that to perhaps put on the helm, steel helm of Garkul, which requires strength. Maybe I don't think I can, but it's worth checking out to see if I can. By the way, since I don't really use the you know what? I'll use this. I have a space for it, so we'll actually just test this out to sort of show you off what this does. So we'll put the Rune of the Rift there. I'll show you what it does when we fire that stuff. We're going to take this off because I'm not using them. I don't want to be distracted from using them. This is a very special cure type ability, so I'm going to put it over here for now, I guess. Whoops. By the way, you can drag your items down here to sort of put their abilities on your hotbar if you need to. It automatically happens that it'll drop a few things, but if you want to reposition them and you take them off and all that, you can take them off and just go to your inventory and drag them down as necessary. We're gonna put this on, and I think the rest of this stuff is good. So let's go battle the mad rogue Tempest guy. Also note, but sometimes you'll find treasure chests on this very first instance here, and other stuff that could spawn on Tempest Peak 1. Nothing really spawned this time, but it's worth, knowing that you can sometimes find stuff. And, oh god! Okay, this is probably one of the worst things that can happen to you. Here's the boss! Here's all his little friends. Here's a rare. So, I guess before we do anything, here's Urkis the High Tempest. Lightning crackles around this middle-aged man. He radiates power. If you look at him, he has the ability to use Freeze, Hurricane, Ice Shards, Lightning, Nova. He's got 2 runes, Shock, Tempest, Thunderstorm. He's very threatening. And he's got a friend here too. And Jelly. He's got himself a summoning lightning elemental here. He's got a lightning drake here. A bunch of other hackslings all over the place. In this instance, here's what you want to do. Now, this might look like a worse situation, but when I say this is not a worse situation, believe me that being near a whole bunch of these guys as compared to Urkis, these guys are not as threatening as Urkis. And I also have the ability to use my phase door to sort of jump around here a little bit as well, if necessary, so we're still good. Anyhow, we're just going to battle that guy, but we're going to basically deal with all this other stuff first. Kill those guys, we'll drop this maybe over here. Maybe drop this here. Okay, this is a single target ability, I think. Or maybe it hits multiple targets. Alright, so what did we just do there? I basically activated my Temporal Ruin of the Rift there, Ruin thing. That's the description I basically had. We basically hit the Snow Giant Thunder there for temporal damage, so he takes a whole lot of temporal damage as a result. And we basically made him go through time 4 turns into the future. What that is basically saying is that we basically won't see that guy for another 4 turns. He's gone for 4 turns. It's kind of interesting. So he's back, and there he is yet again. Note that much like me, he also has continued destabilization, so he's now very resistant to temporal type effects if I try that again. Now, something to note about him is that because I sent him in time 4 turns, he hasn't had this chance to get this stuff off his cooldown yet, so he doesn't have access to those talents just yet. Though he'll get access to him very quickly anyways. So there's nothing really to say, hooray! There's a mountain troll, by the way. And that guy breathed on me. We're going to use this right now. So yeah, we basically battled all these guys. Unlike Urkis, you know, they were nowhere near as tough as, you know, that just initial start. So that's just one beautiful thing about teleport there, by the way. You can use it to get out of initially bad situation like that. And our vampire. Here's a master vampire. So in Daikari we saw this normal vampire. Here's a master vampire. He's basically, I guess, a higher class vampire. He has access to something called, he has access to Burst Sight, by the way, which, you know, was my talent, which gives him defense. He's got Cold Flames, he's got Phantasmal Shield, he's got Rotting Disease. He's basically much like the, you know, the original vampire we saw there, but these guys are a little bit more geared to, I guess, being, you know, a little bit more defensive than the normal vampires that you see. In reality, they're like no stronger than the other vampires, but they have a different name and different set of talents. And there's another vampire I'll be over there to fight. Let's drop this here. Maybe I'll drop this there. Alright, we got a lightning element over here. I actually don't mind him being there because he's going to basically hit everyone in here with lightning damage because they don't have any immunity to it. Oh! My volcano can hit me too, apparently. Good to know. Alright, they're all dealt with. I'll note, by the way, that once you get enough, you know, regeneration power from your ruins, you can basically just do like sort of what I'm doing right here, just, you know, alternating between these regeneration ruins, left and right, just going through decks and decks of guys without any real worry. Alright, this is actually leading back up to the entrance, I think. So we want to be very careful. Because I know where Urkis is, I want to sort of take that sort of into account. And obviously just, you know, lure these guys out a little bit. Kill them. Keep luring them. Hey, look at that, he used lightning speed. Whee! Alright, they're all dead. We're just going to go up here. Okay, so there's the stairway that I used to get in here. And we basically, you know, we teleport away and then we come back. Now I basically have the advantage of dealing with all these guys that were basically sitting there. Alright, so he's right there. What I'm going to do here, we're going to Shadow Step him. Ow! So yeah, be very careful when you're fighting guys like this. No, I don't want to do that. We just want to hit this. Alright. So we basically have dealt with all these guys sort of over near here where, you know, all those guys are dealt with. There's a dragon enemies over here. Oh, by the way, well actually, because Urkis can, you know, say, hey, what's going on? And like, you know, try and see what's going on. And he decided to come up and say hello. So here's Urkis. Urkis, the High Tempest. As you see, he has 2 sustainable talents, Thunderstorm and Hurricane. The thing about him that you have to note, he's very susceptible to being stunned and confused and other stuff like that. He doesn't have any stun or confusion immunity, so when you're fighting him, what you want to do, just drop like a dirty fight on him instantly just to try and stun him. If he freezes you, just, you know, get out of it immediately. Hit him with dirty fighting. And because of him with both those like talents, he's actually going to have a whole lot of his talent set on cooldown right now. So he's actually not going to be anywhere as tough as he might have been. Now I basically decked him quite a bit. We're going to hit him with sweep. And I'll note, by the way, that once you hit him enough, he starts running away, much like any other mage. So he's doing that now. We're just going to drop that on him. I think we'll hit him with Rush. And then we'll just flurry him. Alright, well, you didn't really get to see his terrifying nature of him, like, putting Hurricane on me, but in a sense, I didn't really actually want him to do that, because it is really detrimental to have happen to you. I've lost characters to him basically hitting me with that sort of set of abilities. Now, he dropped a Primal Infusion. That's a very interesting thing that I'll basically show off, I guess. Looking through the stuff. Alright, well, none of that really interests me. We're just going to sell it all. So he dropped the Primal Infusion. And this is another one of these like Randart Infusion, or not Infusion, but Randart Inscriptions. Much like the Ruin of the Rift, it's basically, you know, as you can see, a Primal Infusion. And what it does is it's basically a high-powered wild infusion that removes one of any magical, physical, or mental effect. So if you have any effects, it'll remove it from you. In many ways, I consider this to be a very weak inscription, but it's kind of useful early on. So what we might want to do... This is actually getting kind of weak, this infusion regeneration here. So we're going to actually replace that weaker regeneration infusion here with the Primal Infusion. I'm going to take this off actually, because we don't need our... I don't really need those gloves anymore, so you know what, we're just going to get rid of them. I was carrying these around for like the ability to remove the magical effect if it hit me, but I don't really benefit from, you know, carrying them around for anything else. And I just put them right back on like an idiot. If you want to transmogrify this, by the way, you have to untag it first, and then you can transmogrify it. So that gets rid of that. These are nice, but you know what? We're going to keep using these things right here. You've had your day. You're nice, but we don't really need you anymore. So just untag these, and we'll get rid of it. We'll keep on the Girdle of Calm Waters, and we'll get rid of the old belt here. I don't know why I'm keeping this this cloak. I was probably keeping it for defense or cunning or anything like that, but to be honest, it's kind of a non-issue because I'm basically going to want to replace all this stuff eventually with better stuff. And let's actually put this on and see if I can get this going. So I want to test to see if I can possibly put all these items on. Again, I was trying to put on the Steel Helmet Garcool. And when you look at that, I actually put that on, even though I didn't have... well, I basically was using that helmet to put on the Steel Garcool helmet. So I got this back on. Hooray! This will give me a nice little boost of strength, will, and cunning, or con, physical saves and all that. Very nice helmet. This was a nice helmet, but you know what? I'm actually thinking about getting rid of it. So we'll actually untag this and let's get rid of it. Goodbye. And the lightning ring has pretty much served its purpose. There might be lightning bosses in the near future, but we're just going to untag this and get rid of it. And what do I want to put on now? That is the question. I think we're going to put on this one actually. This ring here, it's useful for, like, you know, some of the earlier dungeons where, like, in the Ruin Halfling complex you might get disarmed a lot, or against the car you might get knocked back by rocks a lot, or even pinning immunity is very useful against the Master Archers. But this ring in itself, I don't really like this sort of ring a lot later in the game, so we're actually going to get rid of it and just, you know, not worry about it. Okay, so I got these two rings on down here. I think we're going to take off the Confusion immunity ring for now. We'll wield our blood collar. Then of course I got these two rings, these runes over here that I'll probably want to demonstrate sometime, but we'll demonstrate them later. Alright, we're going to put you back on. This is actually starting to outweigh its usefulness at this point, because even though the Wall of Fire is kind of useful and Volcano is kind of useful, I actually want to eventually get a better tool type you know, object right there in my inventory to make use of. I never actually took this back off. Might as well put this back on. Yeah, we'll keep this a little bit longer. I like the tooth of the mouth. It's thematic. Alright, something just hit me for cold damage. Oh, it's just a gnat. Alright, so at this point we basically killed the boss, and now all we can do here is just explore around and find all the lovely loot. I'll note, by the way, that if you come through Anguin, this is a one-way trip, so to speak, to Tempest Peak, so if you want experience and all that, basically just go through here and, like, you know, loot everything that you want to the first time around, because you won't be coming back a second time. It's a one-way trip, and it's a one-way trip back. Alright, open a chest. And we basically got, you know, a nice little spawn of guys around us. Should take this off. We're going to use this, and we're just going to do Whirlwind. Boom. We'll do a sweep. Boom. Maybe drop this. Notice I open that door so these guys can sort of walk by each other and jump into flames. Alright, they're all dead. And I'll note, by the way, that sometimes when you all explore, you'll not pick up the item that you were standing on. So I'm just going to pick that up. Something hit me for lightning damage. It must be, oh, one of these guys. Well, they're not too dangerous at this point. Initially in Durf they might be dangerous, but those lightning elementals aren't that dangerous, you know, once you get past a certain point. Just become a little bit of add-on damage I have to worry about every so often. Hey, look at that! Snow Giant Boulder Thrower. Okay, we're just gonna stand here. Ow. Kill that guy. So in many ways this instance is much like Takara, except that you find more storm drakes instead of, you know, fire or cold ones. And of course they're little hatchling guy friends. We'll drop that there maybe. Drop this here. We'll do a sweep. And ow. Okay, they're all the way. There's a horror. And we leveled up again. One more point to here. I'll note, by the way, that I have the option of increase my armor training a little bit more. That's debatably useful. But I'll note that I'm probably not going to raise this past 1. I'm actually probably more than content to leave this like common training as it is right now. It would be nice to raise fixed skin at some point in the near future, but this is a constitution as a stat. Most players consider constitution to be a wasted stat point to ever invest in for a lot of characters. And even though you can get fixed skin, which is one use for it, the benefits of constitution are kind of limited. And I can't really say there's a whole lot of use for getting Constitution. I might pick up some items, but actually, like with with Strength, where I let me invest in like armor training, pick up for fixed skin. It is possible to pick up like 60 plus 60 stat points for Constitution and pick up fixed skin 5 times. But this is one stat, this is one talent that you might see me invest in it. I might not. We'll see. It all depends. Let's increase our dexterity over here a little bit, or blur sight a little bit, and then we'll increase our dexterity in magic. Heal up a little bit. Something I note that, unlike Dakar, is that there's a lot of doors in this instance. Lots and lots of doors. Alright, I think we've actually come to the end of our road, so to speak. Here's a vault, much like previous vaults of this design. I think you've already seen this already, but there's basically going to be like a mob here, mobs here, mobs here, mobs here, basically behind all these doors. They're high level, they're nothing to scoff at, usually. To be honest, this is not a very hard dungeon vault. Sometimes it can be kind of dangerous early on, but it's not too dangerous at this point. Unless you encounter one of these guys. Here's a level 38 stone giant boulder thrower. Guess what he'll do to me in a moment? He'll make me say ow. We're actually going to put all this stuff on, actually. We're just going to rush him. And he had Bulbum's big knocker behind him. That's a staff. It uses, as you can see, magic to basically hit stuff. Very interesting staff. Hey, look at that, there's a +4 pick. Alright, I'm actually being called at the moment, so we're going to go pause the recording one moment. Alright, all back. A little bit exhausted. I actually did a little bit of yard work. Oh look, a level 41 Orc Corruptor. This will be fun. So yeah, I'm basically doing one of these vaults here. That's where I left off. Usually these vaults aren't too tough, but sometimes you'll have like, a guy like this spawn and they can be a little bit more of a nuisance than the other stuff you might be fighting in here. I think what we're just going to do this. Use Curse of Vulnerability, which will basically reduce all resistances by 27%. This is a good example where I can use my problem if using get rid of that. So basically, yoink, gone. That has a magical effect, but I was able to get rid of it with the effect there. I think I'll drop that there. He used Orcus Fury. Alright, now, this guy, he hasn't taken any damage yet. He's still at 100% health. This is probably a good example where I can sort of show off what Bone Shield is basically all about. So, this guy, he's basically taking damage to the bones around him. He is not himself taking any damage just yet. But once we're through those Bone Shields, then he's actually going to start taking damage as a result. Now, one of the best ways to get through to the fleshy bits of them is just to hit him with Flurry. Flurry will hit him with multiple hits, which will hit, each of these shields. So, we'll basically rip through all those bone shields he has left and then get to the fleshy bits underneath. And there we go. We basically, hit him a little bit there. I'll just basically hit him again with dirty fighting. That stunned him. I'll rush him, which is you can do in these places, and kill him. So that's done. He could have been potentially a little bit annoying, but he wasn't anything to worry about. And there's this another dragon there of no real consequence. Nice light movement possibly right there. And then there's one of these guys. Gone. Alright, so that's it for this dungeon. So Tempest Peak, as you can see, is very quick. Quick and dirty, so to speak. We're just going to quickly go through these stuff I picked up. I picked up a Lightning Rune of the Wizard. This gives me, if you recall those like effects where those guys basically have like the lightning surge type of thing on them, this would be the rune that does it. When you use a lightning rune, you do a little bit of lightning damage on enemies that are hit by it. RNG based damage, but you also become pure lightning for 2 turns, and any damage will teleport you to adjacent tiles, so you basically have a chance to ignore damage if it hits you. I usually don't think much of the lightning runes because on melee it could possibly bump you into a bad space. Same with mages as well, but it might be just useful to try and show you it off a little bit. So we might use it just for a little bit. This other stuff doesn't really interest me in the slightest, I don't think. Now, because I picked up this dwarven pickaxe here that increases my strength by 4, if I combine that with this, I basically get 6 strength total. And 6 strength would be enough to get the carrying capacity or the strength requirements for the Gargoyle's helm there. So what we're actually going to do, I think we're going to get rid of the hat here because I really don't have any real use for it. And we'll just rely on our strength gloves here and the pickaxe to equip Gargoyle's helm whenever I decide to take it off. Like say I want to put on this for the water breathing, I might do that. Blindness immunity is kind of nice to think about as well. If I ever decide to take that ring off. Which I might. So, onward. Alright, so, Quest Churchill Fortress updated. Master, you have sent enough energy to activate the exploratory fire portal. However, there seems to be a disturbance in the room. Please return as soon as possible. Alright, so this is the point where I will return to my Chateau Fortress. A while ago, he basically said we sent enough money, and that point would be whenever you get to, I guess, to 57 or whatever it is to sort of get there. So he's asked me to come back, and we'll basically just do that now. Alright, so here's our Chateau Fortress. There's our little orb telling us what energy is stored. We'll look at that in our quest log. So, you asked me to come about the fire portal, or you asked me to come about the Rod of Recall. So the Rod of Recall you possess is not a Chateau artifact, but is based on Chateau design. The fortress now has enough energy to upgrade it. It can be changed to recall you to the fortress. So you can say, I like it the way it is, and thanks anyways, or that could be quite useful, please, yes please do it. We're not going to do it just yet, because what that will do, whenever I use my Rod of Recall, instead of going to the start of the dungeon, we'll go to here instead. And then if we exit here, we'll go back to the start of the dungeon afterwards. That's useful if I want to make use of the Chateau Fortress for anything, but it's not just useful yet because we're not using the Chateau Fortress that much. Now, the fire portal. Long ago, the Chateaus used fire portals not only for transportation to known locations, but also to explore new parts of the world, or even other worlds. This fortress is equipped with exploratory fire portal and now has enough energy to allow 1 teleportation. Each teleportation will take you to a random part of the universe. Use free energy. Beware that the return portal may not be nearby your arrival point. You will need to find it. You can use your Rod of Recall to try and force an emergency recall, but it has a high chance of breaking the exploratory fire portal forever. You may use the fire portal. However, beware. I sense a strange presence in the fire portal room. Alright, so when he says that... Welcome to a randomly spawned boss or unique type enemy here. So this guy here is pretty much a unique enemy, and this is what they're basically all about. This guy has talents from 2 different classes. Judging from the telekinetic abilities here, he's definitely got Mind Slayer type of talents on him. And because he's got turn back the clock, space-time tuning, he's definitely got temporal type talents on him. Now this guy could be a Paradox Mage or a Temple Warden. I'm thinking he's more of a Paradox Mage. And he's also got his Luminescent Horror talents like Fire Beam. So this guy is pretty much a Paradox Mage plus the Mind Slayer plus the Luminescent Horror abilities that he's got. And he's going to be really fun to deal with. We're actually going to leave him alone. We'll actually try and fight him a little bit later when we're a little bit stronger. That's something you can do, by the way. You can just leave him alone, let him just sit there. And that'll pretty much be it for this Let's Play. We've managed to get through a good chunk of the dungeons. Next time, I think we'll go here to the Ruin Dungeon. And perhaps we'll try and explore one of the Dark God events, like Bearscape or Lost Land of Poosh. Those were activated when Dark God decided in his benevolence to randomly hit a button and make us have random dungeons, which could happen in any of your trials if you play this game. If I look around, where are they? I'm pretty sure he activated those. Alright, I don't know where they are, but Bearscape and the Lost Land of Poosh dungeons entrances aren't exactly appearing for me. That could be a bug. But anyhow, next thing we'll do is we'll go to the Ruined Dungeon here. Basically, I'll show you what it's all about. This, I'll note by the way, is the only place that you can possibly find a Rich Stinger if you need one. Potentially. It's not a guaranteed thing. And I apparently found an Iron Mail of Bloodletting. For some odd reason. Next time we're basically just going to jump in here. I'll show you what this dungeon is all about. For now, take care, and I'll see you next time.